get you back inside your head. Before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear overnight, just to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. It's Friday, October 1st. It's my birthday month, number one. Number two, it is officially fall, and I love fall weather. Maybe it's because my birthday is in the fall, but I've always felt that the crisp, fresh air of fall rejuvenated me. Like, rebirth is in the spring, and somehow I always felt like a slight rebirth in the fall. Mm-hmm. It was weird. It's weird. It's like, you know, yeah, you're like hot during the summer. It's like, perpetual heat. And then you get that nice, the leaves start changing colors. You know it's going to be time for apple pie and cider, pumpkin spice and everything nice. That's right. Exactly. All right. Streaming to Rumble now at People's Pundit on Rumble. And, of course, you can follow me on Getter at People's Pundit. Follow me on Twitter at People's_Pundit. And, of course, still on YouTube. If you like the videos, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Subscriptions definitely help us, of course, in our pushback against corporate and big tech fascism. And, hit that notification bell. That will let you know when we're going to go live. But now we are on Rumble. So, we weren't advertising it, but now it's time to, pick it up. Let me get some rumbles, folks. Let me get some rumbles. Whatever they do on Rumble. Subscribe, Rumble, love it, whatever you're going to do.
It's a plus sign.
Plus it. Yeah. Give me a Rumble. All right. Today we're going to devote a lot of time toward the content that we went over this week for questions. So, get your thinking cap on. Ask me whatever questions you want. And I will eat my elderberry vitamins by Zaxby's. Is that what is it? Zabby? I don't know. ZB. All natural. Vitamin D. Zinc and C.
They did not pay him to do
and no, they didn't pay me to do it. I don't have any sponsors. Speaking of sponsors, I get to crack Allison Morrow's wine tonight. What? Woo! We got the 3-pack. I don't remember the elevation, but the highest elevation, the second highest one, and a shelf one, which is, I can't wait. I wanted to give them a day or two to like, chill because, red wine being thrown around and then in the trucks, it's kind of hot. So you don't pop the cork when the bottle's hot. You know what I mean?
No
You got to let it chill and do its thing.
Yucky.
You know what I mean? All right. But of course, the best way to find me is to join the locals community at People's Pundit, which you could do by going to peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. And of course, we appreciate all the support. Public Polling Project, which you can find bigdatapoll.com/public polling project. There will be a new section on Big Data Poll, and it will say portfolio. Now, everyone who's on locals will get all of these results ahead of time, and beyond that, I've been pretty. Which is why we're on StreamYard again today. I've been pretty damn busy between polling for people, and some of them are new, so there's hand holding involved. They don't really know what they're looking at when you give them the product. So a lot of that's hand holding. So we haven't had real time to test, and I just wanted to make sure everything went smooth. Nothing like on what happened on Monday where I go to add Robert. Hey, and now let me bring in Robert Barnes. Crash. I don't need that right now. Man, I'm telling you, there's issues galore. It's just techie. It's what happens. There are updates. They conflict, and you got to go back in. Yeah, and Laura's learning on the fly. Show announcement. Laura is going to be. It shouldn't really impact our schedule. Frankly, it really shouldn't. It's just I don't know how much Laura will be able to participate. It depends.
Just
we'll see.
know I love you all.
Just see if she's feeling up to it. But she, mother of 3 children, so she's got to get a disjointed muscle.
Yes, they're sewing my muscles back into place. So what happened was having a 10-pound baby.
Yeah. The third one is the one that did it.
And being 5 foot, he tore my muscles and they separated. So it causes me pain. And they are sewing me back together again.
Yeah. So he's going to fix it, put it back, cut, paste. That's it. But because it is like your abdomen, it'll be a while before you're really up and about. So, I'm sure she'll be sitting down with her laptop and talking eventually. I just don't know about the first couple of days. We'll see. And I'm sure you all understand and won't blame her for it. All right. So with that in mind, I just wanted to let you know. But she has to be doing it. She has to do it now because we have Halloween.
Yeah.
Christmas.
I can't miss Halloween.
I got a speech at Hillsdale College.
Thanksgiving.
You're coming Thanksgiving. Oh, my God. I can't imagine any more Thanksgiving without Laura's birth. I just can't. No, I'm serious. It's like Christmas Eve. It's like the Feast of the Seven Fishes without my grandmother. And I try. She's gone. She's been gone for many years, unfortunately. For about how many years now?
Let's see.
Oh my God, almost 20 years. 15 years? 15 to 16 years?
No, because we hadn't.
Yeah, we've been married 16.
13 years ago. 13,
no, it's more
14.
than that. It is. It's more than that.
No, we were married for like
she never met Nico, Laura.
I know. Nico came
unfortunately
4 years later.
Unfortunately, she never met Nico. Yeah, but she was better at it than me. I try. We do the best we can. Tradition is very important, folks. It's very, 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 very important. We're Italian. It would be a dishonor. It would be disgraceful not to show my kids that side of their heritage and culture, and we have kept that going the best we can. Laura and I had to basically put everything back together. And it is a big blow to an Italian family when you lose the matriarch. Yes. It's a big blow. And then somebody's got to step up and do it. My father and Laura used to like to cook together a lot. And he's pissed now because Laura totally he told her how to make chicken cutlets. Her chicken cutlets are way better and more moist. No offense, Dad. I love you. No, but you even admit it. Yeah. He's pissed. He wants to drive all the way over here across a couple states just to get the cutlets. And when we lived by him, not long, he used to come, even though he wasn't up for it. He would come just to get chicken cutlets. Yeah. And the same thing goes with the turkey. So she learned the family recipe for the turkey, but she makes it better. She improved it. And every year, man, I look forward to that bird. And that's true of all your birds. Whether you're cooking any kind of fowl. Pigeon. Quail, those little things. Cornish hens. Oh, I love those succulent little buggers. Oh, my God.
I want to take on duck. I've never made duck before.
Duck. Yes. You know what I want to do? A turducken. Yeah, I don't want to do it for Thanksgiving though, because I don't want to blow Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? But yeah, turducken. And then, when you're Italian, Thanksgiving is not just a turkey, which we talked about. And we're like, you know what? We always have the antipasta, everything everybody does. But there's a lasagna or a ziti, manigat. I mean, then you have the turkey. These things come out in the daytime, like 12 and then 1:30 and then, and everybody's fat and stuffed by the end of it.
Story.
But nobody goes hungry, and everybody goes home with something.
But I do make the traditional stuff too: the candy yams, the green bean
casserole.
Yeah,
oh yeah, Bruce's baby, Bruce's. Woo woo.
Mashed potatoes.
That's another thing, by the way. I never liked yams until you took over Thanksgiving dinner. I did not like yams. I just didn't.
But I do something to sweet potatoes that nobody knows, and I won't tell him.
There's something going on in there because I just don't like them. And everybody's like, oh, take a sweet potato fry and say, can I have a freaking French fry, please? Fry the russet. Don't pull that sweet potato crap on me. All right, I don't want. And I've tried, but we do. Yep, we do the Feast of the Seven Fishes. She fries because I'm not good at frying the shrimp and scallops, but I do just about everything else. The bacala, the bacala, the salad, even with scungili, and the one thing I'm gonna do. The problem is, you know what though? The kids do like clams now, and for a while we kind of cut the clams out. Maybe I'd make like a little linguine and clam sauce or something. But the kids didn't really like it. Then I started getting these stuffed clams. Publix people, you know what I'm talking about. You go to the fish market in Publix, and they have stuffed scallops and stuffed clams, 2 in a pack usually, and they're not expensive. You put them in the oven for like 400, whatever it may be, for a couple of minutes. Delicious. Then I started realizing my dad. I would like, hey, Nico, Bree, just try forkful. Then I started to realize my stuffed clams were missing. Where did my stuffed scallops go? Right? Little shells hiding on their little plates. Whoa! It is part of being Catholic, and that's where it comes from. Yeah, pop it. That's a great question. I'm trying to keep better track of your questions. StreamYard makes it easier for me to do. But yes, it is part of being, even though we're both Protestant now, we still do it for tradition purposes. But yes, it comes from the Pope. And I told my grandmother this all the time, Good Friday, everything. But she hated hearing it. Oh, no, stop it. You listen to the Holy Father, But it came from them trying to boost the Venice's fishing industry. I mean, there is nowhere, of course, where Jesus said, don't eat fish on Good Friday. I mean, he was gone 3 days later, right? So, or no, he was resurrected, you know what I mean. Anyway. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that has to do with Catholic Church and organized, established religion, but it's still a wonderful thing. And then the next day we have like a roast or something, like a more traditional Christmas dinner, and it's nice. It's nice that the kids know that it's the same for us than it is to go in. Chop down a Christmas tree, and maybe you guys used to do that when you were kids, and somehow you still figure out how to do it. Though, if you're as old as me, you remember you chop it down because tradition is important.
It's important to the
fabric of society. It is, and remember my tirade from yesterday and or Wednesday, which brings us to this story I'd like to go over. With the exception of Peter Schweitzer's book, which I believe was called Progressive Corruption or something like that. Do you guys remember what it is? It's somewhere in the house. I have it. Nobody asked a single question about religious affiliation to Kamala Harris. Nobody. And now we have her office is in it went on DEF CON this morning. And this better not crash or anything, but I want to read this to you, okay? Headline from the New York Post. Kamala Harris's office does damage control after she praises ethnic genocide remark. And I bet you I could share this. Let's see. Don't you crap out on me, StreamYard. Don't you do it.
Threaten it, baby. Tell him who's boss.
Don't you do it. All right, so here's this article I want to show you. I wish they would not auto do, this stuff. Hold on, maybe I can actually... do they have a settings thing? They don't. Come on. They don't. But this auto thing. Vice President Kamala Harris's office has reportedly entered damage control mode with pro-Israel Democrats after she lavished praise on a college student who accused the Jewish state of committing, quote, ethnic genocide. Does this sound familiar to you guys? I went over this when we talked about AOC completely selling out. Completely. She wasn't some super mastermind political strategist who knows. She's so smart, we can't know that. In order to remain a moral person. And yet, she changed her vote from no to present so that would pass while she sobbed like a little baby on the House floor. In shame. She sobbed in shame. Because I'll tell you what, they're pumping these idiots. I stopped it. that one down too. All right, we're back. I told you that would happen. I knew it. I felt it. I'm just not going to share it, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Okay. The bottom line. Oh, you know what I could do? I'll read it down here.
The phone, like I always.
Well, it's hard to find sometimes unless you have it. All right. Listen, going back to where we were, and thanks for the tip, by the way, on the blocker. That probably is going to fix that because it's if you go to Real Clear Politics, done. New York Post, done. It's like the ads now are getting so bad. I don't know why it doesn't happen to everybody else, but it happens to me. I do have several tabs up, but I need them to be, and that really honestly didn't always affect it. Never did. All right. So, okay. So Vice President Kamala Harris's office is reportedly in damage control mode so she runs now to the pro-Israel Democrats to help save her, or at least those that are viewed to be pro-Israel. And the bottom line here is that this girl gets up. All right. The Veep on Tuesday addressed the class at George Mason University in Northern Virginia to mark National Voter Registration Day before calling on students for questions. Look, Virginia is closer than they want it to be. Closer than they expected it to be. And they do feel Virginia has been Democratic lately, but it does have a tendency to oust the party that's in the White House. It had many, many years, decades, even when it was a Republican state, decades worth of trends there. However, I will tell you people to tamp down expectations that Democratic states are less tolerant. It's just true, Laura. I don't mean this in any other bad way or derogatory way. It is easier for Alabama to throw out a Republican if there's like a moderate Democrat alternative they believe to be viable than it is for a blue state to throw out a Democrat. I mean, I have seen a lot of blue state Democrats get away with damn near murder just because the partisan lean is so strong. Democrats are less willing, all right, they'll deal with a lot more. It really doesn't matter what their girl or guy does. They'll vote for him. And that's sad, but it's true. However, there still are a lot of independents in Virginia, and the inferred party affiliation, because there's no registration there, the inference has moved, and many people realize this now that we were right. You guys know, locals, we did the modeling. It has moved away from Democrats when it comes to just the base. The reason why Democrats have the edge is because of the independent vote. Now that presents a danger to Democrats because it is those very voters that have this history of swinging so wildly, even as late as 2009, when Bob McDonnell thrashed the Democratic opponent. It's like 20 points, which was ridiculous. 16 or 19 was something ridiculous. Even though Barack Obama had just carried that state by 5 points. And then went on to carry it again by 5 points. And the prior presidential year, George W. Bush carried it by 7. All right. But if you watch the show on Virginia, especially when we talked about Loudoun County, then you know why things you may not be able to pass may not be prologue here. It's a different Loudoun County. It's a different Virginia. Different people. Immigration, education, migration, and education. The universities are absolutely pumping out students just like this. This is what they believe. White yuppie, or Arab, which is what the student identified herself as part Yemeni, part Iranian, and claimed a lot of taxpayer money is allocated for funding the military, whether it's in backing Saudi Arabia or in Palestine. All right, and she went on to do something very typical for anybody who has any academic experience whatsoever. Make ridiculously outrageous comparisons. All right, like this is not Slobodan Milosevic here. A quote again. You brought up how the power of the people in demonstrations and organizing is very valuable in America, but I see that over the summer there have been protests and demonstrations in astronomical numbers, like standing with Palestine. But then just a few days ago, there were funds allocated to continuing backing Israel, which hurts my heart because it's an ethnic genocide and a displacement of people. The same that happened in America, and I'm sure you're aware of this. The student said she felt the U.S. was ignoring protests, even though Harris had been discussing the power of demonstrating. All right, before I give Harris's remark, you remember the poll we did? Obviously, Palestine has increased in support. Support for Palestine and their cause has increased in America over the years, but you remember the polling we just did. Gallup has been tracking this for many, many, many years. America is pro-Israel, not pro-Palestine. When you ask, it's a large advantage for Israel. That advantage has shrunk over the years, but it is still a large advantage. So just for this student, if anybody wants to send this to her, you're still the gross minority. All right? I know a bunch of you need to get, indoctrinated and then graduate and get eligible to vote and go out into the world before that number changes, get real jobs. But the fact of the matter is, you are still the gross minority. So that's why they funded the Iron Dome. And by the way, you want to blame someone, blame your own damn party. I just brought it up earlier last when this happened.
Did you?
AOC is supposed to be one of the most anti-Israel apartheid haters in the Congress. And she caved. It's not the Republican fault. The House is Democratic. Your own people caved. Here's Kamala Harris. Quote, "Your voice, your perspective, your experience, your truth cannot be suppressed, and it must be heard." There's only one truth. In most of the world, most of, things, there's only one truth. Somebody's right and somebody's wrong. That's the real way the world works. Sometimes things are less black and white, but the fact of the matter is, especially in who the U.S. is going to back in foreign policy, what is in our interest and what is not, there is only one truth. There is no her truth. You hike on down to the International Relations Department and talk to the realists there who think that Kamala Harris's worldview is idiotic. It's George Mason, for crying out loud. And see if they think there's many truths. Anyway, what is she doing here? She's placating a radical to try to get voter registrations because they think Terry McAuliffe is in trouble. A former governor should have this race wrapped up. Outspending Glenn Youngkin overwhelmingly. Democrats have carried the state. They've imported thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands. You ask about generation. You remember when we did this? That was in 2016, right?
Yeah.
In 2016, we got hired to do generational opinions on generational work. All right. Yeah, well, because my email is down, just to let you know, because of that issue. Yeah, we were hired to do work in Virginia detailing why the state was moving Democratic. If you were third generation or more, you were overwhelmingly Republican. If you were first or second generation, you were a Democrat. Second generation actually was a little bit of a surprise to me. That was the more liberal one. It's like over time, they can get more liberal. That second generation. Very similar to what we found in Arizona in 2020. All right. All right. I'll check right now to see if it's better. Okay.
Thank you.
But the bottom line, they just told me to wait and it'll fix itself.
Is it the one that you sent me on September 24th?
It's Georgia.
That was Georgia.
No, it's Georgia. That's what he wants to talk about. Going to be on for those of you guys who don't know, we're going to be on the Steve Gruber show later. So, if you guys want to check it out, what time is my thing on Steve Gruber show?
2:05.
2:05. We'll talk about Georgia, and I'll also send him some stuff on I think the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index is a very big deal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's and for locals community, I decided, why don't we track before we do relative values? We can do both, but the relative value tracking is already in a table on that layout thing in the portfolio section I was telling you about. I shared that one link with you guys already before it all goes up, and you'll be able to find all of the portfolio on the homepage. But in that portfolio, in the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index, I'm thinking we've been asking positive, neutral, and negative about all 5 sub-indicators. Why not show how that's tracked over time in a line graph? And I thought we would do that. So honestly, that's my favorite part about doing this stuff. Really, playing with making the interactives, playing and analyzing the numbers.
Messing with the numbers.
I just love to
nesting.
Nesting. Nesting is
with the numbers.
Yeah. And it's it's what I like the most. It really is. It is.
It's just really.
And no, the answer is no.
Very
It's not that good.
interesting the data that you get and like how you.
What's
see
revealed in there? Yeah, exactly.
Like you see other people's view in
and then
mass.
What's going on with them?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What's happening with them right now? And then I'm a nerd, so I imagine these people. Like, this, like, you know what I mean? Like, I try to imagine who they are, and I already know what they do, And by the way, I was also thinking we need to do it by employment status, right? So this is what I wanted to show you guys before we get into. I'll talk about this more a little bit later after this Kamala Harris thing. But I think I can show that screen without a problem. It happened. It was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But in any event, what I'll do right now is just send you guys the link in here. Let me do that now. Keep your eye on the comment section. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, I think I see if this will go out to Rumble. Okay. Keep your eye on it. All right. And I'm just going to put out Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index, crosstabs, okay? And here's the link for it. Let me know if you get that on Rumble. I'm curious to see whether you'll get it on Rumble. If not, I'll have Laura copy and paste it and send it to you, all right? Facebook was an error, so Facebook won't give it to you. Just to let you guys know. I don't know why. Probably because it's a link. They're a pain in the butt. Kind of like Periscope used to be. I think we can generate an employment number, like a separate employment index, which basically measures labor force participation among registered voters and the employment rate. I can calculate it with the data with the same way the household survey does, the employment situation report every month. I can calculate it the same way. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's another story though. All right, but I get all giddy. Oh, I can play with numbers.
Oh, and you should see him when he gets like new charts, like when the program updates and says, "Oh, you can do this kind of chart." Oh man, for Richie one birthday, I got him. Was it iCharts, right?
High charts. Yeah, so, loved it. Oh, all right, let's continue with this puppy. And David Freeman's in here, by the way. Her words drew immediate backlash from Israeli media outlets, including the Jerusalem Post and the Times of Israel, which ran headlines such as, quote, Kamala Harris doesn't reject U.S. students' ethnic genocide claim against Israel, Politico reported, unquote, Politico reported. David Friedman, the former U.S. ambassador to Israel, denounced Harris's statements, writing on Twitter, shameful. There is truth and there are lies. That's right. That's my point. Exactly, David. No one is entitled to their personal truth. This attack on Israel is simply a lie, and VPOTUS should have called that out. But then, David, she wouldn't get that radical nutcase to register to vote for Terry McAuliffe. This is why I think this is important, and I'm going to continue to read this because listen how she responds. But we can never be the United States of America again. So long as we have one party who basically survives off of this crap. Slavery, racial hatred, and nonsense like this. This isn't a dispute over foreign policy. This is people who don't have the intelligence to make an argument about foreign policy using despicable tactics like this to avoid it and to shame and denounce other people. And as an adult, if she was a responsible adult who knew her from a hole in the ground, then she would have done what David Friedman said, but she didn't because she's not there for that. She doesn't know her, you know what, from a hole in the ground about this issue at all. Neither does Joe Biden. He's been wrong about it for years, for decades, for 4 decades. He's been wrong all the way. But at the very least, you could do the responsible thing as a global leader and not accuse our number one ally in the region of an ethnic genocide. The Jews, who were subjected to a genocide.
Real genocide.
But votes are all that matters to Heels Up Harris, which I had to explain what that meant to my one of my children. Why do people call the vice president Heels Up Harris, Daddy? Oh my God, sit down. I mean, this is what this is the problem, They were all worried about Donald Trump, grab him by the, but
But a person
frauds.
who sleeps their way to the top.
More frauds. On Thursday, Harris's office contacted the influential Democratic majority for Israel to smooth over her remarks. We were pleased, Vice President, quote, "We were pleased Vice President Harris's senior staff reached out to us today to confirm what we already knew. Her commitment to Israel's security is unwavering," Mark Mellman, the group's president, told Politico. That, of course, is not true. And this is much like inner city African Americans remain in this state, all right, because their own community leaders screw them over. American or Israeli interests in America have done the same thing for them for years, because they're trying to play this delicate. They're trying to hold on to this delicate balance, and it's like a juggling act. I never know when it's going to be an Obama-like president or a Biden-like president or Trump-like president. When we get a Trump-like president, we know we're safe. We're safe. We're okay. And we'll have whatever we need to defend ourselves. And in fact, to show an appreciation, we're going to name a bunch of developments in the Golan Heights after him.
Oh, you went there.
I did.
Yes.
Damn right. They loved him. Loved him. But when it's a Biden or an Obama, they don't know what the hell to expect anymore. Because the era of Barack Obama made it very clear to Israel that you really cannot count on the United States to be your stalwart threat anymore. And they're trying to play the circle. Nobody, when this campaign was underway in 2020, not a single reporter asked the vice president about her religious affiliation. Of course it matters. Of course it matters. Different religions have different worldviews and have different opinions on the world based on those worldviews. Different opinions on people in the world based on those worldviews. If you are an evangelical, it is likely you're going to be more supportive of Israel than if you are a secular person. If you, in fact, have no interest in Christianity or Judaism at all, then it may be safe. Look, as a statistician, I'm speaking in generalities because that's what I do. Mm-hmm. You are more likely or less likely based on the numbers. Generalization is not a bad word at all. That's another politically correct lie. And based on what we know about Kamala Harris, only from our own research, she has no innate worldview that would make her any more or less supportive of the state of Israel. She is one of those people who would absolutely believe the nonsense that was being spewed out of the mouth of this Yemeni-Iranian student who hates Israel, no doubt hates America, even though, she's doing pretty good here, isn't she? Mm-hmm. And this is the problem with not vetting candidates. How the hell are you supposed to know where they stand? And if you look at public remarks from her own family, it's pretty clear. Kamala Harris isn't very fond of Christianity or Judaism. She's a Hindu. Or actually wanted, she was drawn to Hindu religions and never stepped in Christian or churches or Jewish synagogues. Her mother flatly said, her sister flatly said that she didn't even ever think Kamala was ever in one. She can't remember the last time she ever was in one.
That's all you need to know. That's how much she thinks of Christianity.
So the bottom line is, not that it totally matters what somebody's religious affiliation is, but of course it does give you some indication on, where they may be, where their worldview may be. Now, can some people buck that, the generalizations? Of course. That's why we have generalizations. But if something's 60-40, 65-35, then it's safe to make a generalization. You're more likely than not to have this view. We know this from when we polled, 4 months ago, and asked in the public polling project, when it comes to the Middle East, who do you support? It's very easy to take those who said Palestine. Who do you sympathize with? Palestine. And cross it with religion. Very simple. And it tells you a lot. And I'm just making, I'm just making a generalization. It's true. But add more to it. Democrats are more likely than Republicans and independents to choose Palestine. She's a Democrat. There are multiple demographics to suggest she would not be friendly toward Israel. And yet, for some reason, we didn't talk about this. It's incredible. In 1960, JFK's religion was a major, major issue. He's Catholic. Will he listen to the people or take his orders from the Pope?
Every president prior.
Every president's religion has been an issue.
From day one.
They made an issue about it with Donald Trump. He had to say he was Presbyterian. Right? Isn't it?
They forced
Presbyterian?
him to claim.
Presbyterian, I think he is.
Yes.
But he's part of that. Donald Trump is not a very, he wasn't like, what some people would say is a religious guy, but he was affiliated with a Protestant church, a Protestant. It is a denomination of Protestantism that believes in the power of positive thinking. And it's mixed and intertwined. Well, we believe in that too. Just to be honest, we don't in our church. It's not in our church per se, but we do believe in the power of positive thinking. Speaking things, is a powerful tool.
You don't speak negativity.
Words are powerful.
You receive negativity.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Speak positive. If you go out in your day, you wake up and you go, "Oh, this day is going to be crap."
I want to go to school, Mom. I don't want to go to work.
So that's why we have a saying: positive in,
positive out. You get what you put in.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar. M. Scott Peck, baby. The road less traveled. All right. It's true. Positive visualization, whatever the hell you want to call it. It works. It works. You know who's always talking about that all the time? What's his name? The social media. I don't want to just declare him as that, but Cernovich.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just some social media guy. I mean, you got to hand it to him. I think Mike Cernovich probably created or was a huge hand in creating social media celebrity, kind of. Like you become well-known, almost celebrity-like because of social media, because you have a huge following on social media. He's one of the first to do it.
Yep.
He was, whether it was good press or bad press.
Hey,
and yeah, I'll tell you what, you learn about Mike and you'll see I'm going to visualize myself as a filmmaker and I'm going to be a director. So, but that's the way it works, folks.
And he did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than going through like Special Forces assessment and selection.
I think they can.
I can, and I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to visualize myself with that beret. I'm going to get it. Otherwise, you'll quit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In buds, same thing. What are they telling you to do? Anyway, I'm getting off the topic here.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is, this was always an issue in every campaign. And I'm certainly not saying that anybody who's of her religious persuasion would just automatically be. But she has multiple demographics that make her more inclined to choose Palestine than Israel if she had to choose. And that is why we see, and it's not, by the way, it's not just one religion or the other. The nuns nuns, which my old pastor used to call them, they are more likely to be pro-Palestine than pro-Israel than people who have any religious affiliation. You could be Hindu, you could be, Protestant, Catholic, well, except for Muslim, of course.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, we have multiple demographic variables that would suggest it. And our office now is trying to do what every Democrat does. Have their cake and eat it too. They're straddling the fence. They go out and they make these public appearances. This is condemnation by silence or whatever you want to call it. So her lack, do you think Donald Trump would have sat there while a student said that and not corrected them? Or not pushed back at all? Instead, she encouraged and affirmed that student's comment by saying, you know what, you won't be silenced. Don't you worry. You won't be silenced. She did the same thing she did to the BLM protesters who were burning down cities in the summer of 2020. She did the same damn thing. She went on, not Conan, that other idiot. She went on Stephen Colbert, which I'd show you right now, but every time I run this clip, they slap me with a trademark for a copyright infringement. And she went right on Colbert and made the same almost verbatim kind of comments. They will be heard. They won't be silenced. And they weren't. They were burning down cities. They were burning down police stations. They were destroying public property. They were physically hurting people. Working on a case right now. The poor SOB's fighting for his life because he defended himself against multiple attackers that were used a firearm. Big deal. That's what a firearm's for. By the way, you got 3 or 4 people who want to stomp your head in the concrete. That is what a firearm is for. The great equalizer. That's self-defense. I digress. She promotes by making these cute little comments. She encourages by making these cute little comments. And then she runs to the Israeli lobby who needs money, who needs support, who needs the ear of whoever is in power. And they cook up this crap together. And who suffers from it? The state of Israel. And the people. Because when push comes to shove, boy, you didn't see Kamala Harris on Capitol Hill twisting arms to get that $1 billion for the Iron Dome, did you? Did you? To his credit, Joe Biden, that was his job when he was the vice president. What does the White House need? I'm going to head up to Capitol Hill. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try to make it happen. Mike Pence on tax reform, healthcare, on a slew of issues. What was his point? What was his job? His major role, just like every other vice president who's well known among people who typically served as legislators in a prior life and a prior career. They go down to Capitol Hill, they rub elbows, they shake hands, they bend arms, and they get it done. You don't see Kamala Harris doing that, do you? Not for Israel, not for anybody. This is another scam. Another scam. She's in DEF CON over it. 10 years from now, she'll be anti-Israel out of the closet. Anti-Israel. They all will. Damn near all of them will be. Because the pro-Israel Democrats that they keep talking about are less and less every year. We know it from polling. We know it from headlines. We know it from their remarks. This idea that there is equal support for Israel on Capitol Hill among both parties is total fraud. And it's not even true of the electorate anymore. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to take myself away from the Registered Voter Economic Confidence Index. Oh, no, I don't have to. I have the link there. Bear with me, folks.
One of our people said,
bear with me.
Well, you
go ahead.
God made men, and Smith and Wesson made them equal.
That
was funny. Sorry.
That is good
Thank
stuff.
you, all the marbles. I enjoyed it.
God made men, and Smith and Wesson made them equal. Here we go. The whole for some reason, I had the Palestinian statehood question. I had a bunch of different things for that. But Okay. We're going to see right now. Israel. I want to share this so bad. So Israel has about 3 times more support than Palestine. So again, even though it's we got something very different, more honestly, more closely to what you got found than what we have seen with Gallup. But the bottom line is by party. Let's check it out. Okay. I want to show them, but it's risky. All right. Let's go to Palestinian statehood by party. Say, whoops, cancel. And the bottom line is by party. There we go. Democrats actually chose oh no, that's Palestinian statehood. Bear with me, guys. Israel versus Palestine. There we go. Democrats, by the way, 3 times as many supported statehood for Palestine than opposed. It was completely reversed among Republicans. Among Republicans, only 5.3%. And let me read the question again. Regarding the conflict in the Middle East, are your sympathies more with the Israelis or more with the Palestinians? Among Republicans, 5.3% said Palestinians. Among Democrats, 21% said Palestinians. How many supported Israel in the Democratic Party? 18%. Neither was over a third compared to about 1 in 5 Republicans. And by the way, independents, they backed Israel 2-1 over Palestine, whereas Democrats were actually they were Palestine +2. Palestine +2. Republicans were Israel +55. And independents and other were 2-1 in favor of Israel. But I mean, some of this, like I said, it's like they don't really want you to talk about this. But the bottom line is we have numbers to prove. Jewish, if you're Jewish, 55-15. If you're Catholic, 3-1. If you're Protestant, 5-1. If you're Muslim, 51% chose Palestinians. 51%. How many chose Israel? 14. If you're another religion outside of, which is an obscure religion, do you know who made up most of this? Latter-day Saints.
Oh.
25.2 chose Israel. 10% chose Palestinian. No religion chose the Palestinians by 3. So you see, much, much more likely. We have 4-1, 5-1 margins. Catholics over 3-1. Much more likely of the no religion or the Hindu religion and others. Because, you know, it's, again, the Latter-day Saints responses are skewing that. Their religions, believe me, folks, that I've never even, honestly, they're just not mainstream. Sometimes I'm not even that familiar with them. All right. But the bottom line is Jewish, Protestant, even Catholic. Totally different than the Muslim, another religion, and no religion. Completely different. And Kamala Harris now, if we go through party, and you know what? I wonder if that
I don't
gender.
think we have any Scientologists in there, do we?
Yes.
We do have
some? Yeah. They are in there.
What is
it's not much. It's like something.
They normally don't.
They went on this like pro-Israel kick, and now they're on this like neutral, supposedly kick. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens. We'll get like a handful of them once in a while. You know, I mean, there's stuff I've never even heard of. It's weird. Mm. I mean, theoretically, they're like Satan worshipers in there. I mean, serious. All right. So also, actually, now we're about to find the 4th category. Kamala Harris is also a woman. And women are less likely than men to support Israel over Palestine. They're less likely. Men, almost a majority outright said Israel. Only 14% said Palestine. Women were much more undecided. About twice as many women were undecided than men. But still, only 28%, 28.5% chose Israel over Palestine and 13%. So it's the difference between almost 4-1 versus 2-1. So now we have gender, her party affiliation, her religious affiliation, all working against her.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, we're speaking in generalities. There isn't a single demographic group we can associate with Kamala Harris that would make her inclined to support Israel. Nothing. Somebody else got any suggestions? I'm willing. You guys know the demographics in these polls. You have any other idea? Education. Does anybody know how educated Kamala Harris is? She's got a bachelor's degree or higher. Can we Google that? Can somebody Google that and find that out?
Can somebody? You know you're pointing to me.
Well, somebody may know. We may have one here because graduate degrees actually are pretty damn pro-Israel, which was a surprise to me.
Let's see.
I think that may be some static noise there, guys, because that doesn't. That's a little bit surprising.
She went to the Howard University in '86 and UC Hastings College of Law in '89.
College of Law.
Let's see.
Ah, damn, that's not the same. I didn't ask about occupation in this, but I bet you, because lawyers are liberal. They are. They skew liberal. I'd like to give it to her, though. Let's just be, because
I wouldn't.
I would not. All right. So,
Sorry.
there's almost
Too
nothing
easy.
you can say about this woman.
It's too easy.
There's nothing
Just like
you
her.
can say. Oh, crying
So
out
went there.
loud.
Fuck her, VP. Take a walk.
Oh my God.
3rd Street's calling your name.
Oh God. I crossed 110th Street. Oh my goodness. It's like when we have Robert on What Are the Odds? It's like one thing after the other because it's just so easy.
Exactly.
Somebody drew this painting and her face was all smudged, and Robert's like, "This is just too easy.
Like, I
can't do it." But of course, all you have to do is say that, and of course, everybody knows what you're talking about our vice president.
Now, just think what other countries are saying. If we do
Oh
it,
God.
how much worse are they?
Oh God. And if she really wanted to be this guy's heir, it's a shameful thing to even think. I can't even do it. And by the way, I don't give a damn what her party affiliation is.
Mm-hmm.
If Meg Whitman or what's the other, Carly Fiorina or anybody else, basically
Any
need their way to
conservative.
the top,
Mm-hmm.
I would be just as critical as them.
Actually, I'd be worse.
Worse, because they're hypocrites.
Yes, that's where I'd be.
At least she never claimed to be some kind of, Jack Swaggart follower.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever his name is. I think it's right. All right, so with that in mind, I'd like to give her that one demographic. So altogether, actually, that's 4. I mean, 5 if you think about it. 4 that would make her less likely to support Israel over Palestine, and 1 that would make her more likely. But that graduate thing, I'm telling you, if we don't have, no, we don't. We have employment, we have income. What we don't have is occupation in this. Because that would be very interesting. I'm willing to bet you that if we did pull out occupation, it would be totally different. And even maybe if we even nested party along with education, I bet you're going to see that higher educated Democrats are much less likely than higher educated Republicans. I'm willing to bet that. In fact, most of the working class, they just don't give a damn. I wish I could show this to you guys. I just don't want it to, what's it called? I don't want it to freeze again.
All right, but after studying political science and economics, she has a BA in '86. She then went to Howard University, and Kamala earned a law degree in '89.
Okay.
Just FYI.
And you know what,
From
too, though?
Hastings.
From Hastings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep, still liberal, though.
Yeah.
Still very likely to be liberal. William, I don't know if I want to get into
I got tons of
I don't know if I
questions.
want to get into a theological conversation, but I am very critical. Look, I'm actually going to put this up. All right. Genuinely curious how Christians claim the Jews are chosen when they rejected Christ. Someone help me out with that. I think that what it is that they recognize their original role in being those who were chosen to make God's nation on earth, to bring the word of God, into the world. But I'm with you on this. So I typically do see our shared value system, but at the same time, I'm a strong believer in the new covenant, which erases this idea that Jews are chosen. Okay, they were once upon a time, and I read the Bible. When I read the Bible and I read the history that is, demonstrably true from the Bible, I look at it like, if I was God, how would I do it? Strategically. And it was a brilliant move. But at the same time, if you can see his entire big picture, then the new covenant is totally different. And God and his son, did not choose Paul, who was a Jew, a devout Jew, loyal to the temple. Saul at that time of Tarsus, a Roman citizen who also was very influential in the temple, in the Jewish temple. Why, if they were going to continue down that same route, would he choose Paul of Tarsus to spread his word to the Gentiles? Right? Because it's not the old covenant anymore. That's over. That's what it's over. So what I mean?
The big debate.
It's a great question.
Judaism and
it's a great question, and I'll be honest with you. When I first came back to spirituality, I was with my father-in-law, and I was loose-lipped because I'm learning. I'm trying to point out hypocrisy in the church. I have to. I'm a logical guy, and I'm trying to reconcile. And I was listening. They brought this guy in who was a speaker, and I blurted out loud something very close to what you just said. And they was going on and on about the plight of the Jews and weaving it in with spirituality. And I said, I blurted it out because I'm, new to religion, new to spirituality and not religion, but new to, post Catholicism.
Believing.
Yeah. Like really being on a spiritual journey, a new believer. Yeah. And I just blurted it out. I'm like, you don't perhaps assign yourself any of the responsibility for, you're in a room of evangelicals. You don't think at all some of this could have been not punishment, but you reap what you sow, don't you? And we didn't kill his son,
Nope.
You guys did. So, I'm right in but he is a Jew himself. So Jesus himself was a Jew. So I just think, believe me, I think there are a lot of evangelicals who overstate, the the idea. I love my old pastor. His name is Andy Stanley. Maybe some of you know him. North Point Church, and he has a bunch of satellite churches around the country, which is how I came to Andy. And anyway, he was very big when these fights on the Ten Commandments were going on. We were simpatico on this stuff. If you're a Christian and you're a new covenant Christian, then why the hell are you so upset about the Ten Commandments? This is great and everything. I get this. You want to preserve history, but that's not your covenant. That is quite literally the old covenant. And I'm not saying that means murdering is good, but there were a lot more than 10 commandments. Moses chiseled a whole hell of a lot of them on those stone tablets. And that is the old covenant. Those tablets went inside the ark of the covenant. You were picking and choosing the wrong battles, was his point. And I totally agreed with him. We're supposed to be loving each other and not judging each other, right? You convince them through love, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't care what color.
That's why we were on the wrong. We were not the wrong. We were on the opposite side of the gay marriage thing when it happened. Look, I don't personally. I have a lot of family members and friends, and I don't personally. It wasn't my hill to die on. I don't think it's still aberrant behavior. I still view it as aberrant, but it's not my role to judge anybody. No, that's his job.
Love you.
Your role is to love them, and maybe if you did, you would convince them more of. You know what I mean? It's just your job to embrace. It's not your job. It's not your job to judge. And maybe it was popular in 2004, but it sure as hell isn't now.
No. We don't care what religion you come from.
And when I meant the wrong, I meant look at 2004. There were a lot of statewide referendums on gay marriage. They went down, including in California, for the love of God. And I just didn't care. And I personally just didn't think it was it. DOMA was a mistake because DOMA allowed the power and the taxing power of the government and the beneficiary issue. That was the trap. Defensive Marriage Act was unconstitutional because you can't assign benefits to one group of people and not another. You were in fact discriminating. If you would have left that out of the law, they would never have forced you into same-sex marriage because conservatives tried to use the power of the state to implement their morality. It backfired on them. All right. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not the point. That's what happened. Right? Once you use the taxing power or any police power of the state, you open yourself up to them doing it to you as well when those morals change. And that's what happened. All right. Let me take a real quick break. When I come back, we'll do a big Q&A. We'll take a couple, and then we'll bring in Don, and we'll take a couple more. All right. I'll be back. 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats is restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to end
We
it.
got some crazy chats going?
What was that first? Well, that's why I was like, I don't want to turn this into a theological conversation,
Oh, you
but
did.
I did. You know.
did.
Yep. So basically, what was that first question to change the direction here?
Yes.
What was that first question that I asked you to
Kevin.
ask?
You told me to save Kevin's question.
She saves a lot as she goes, but she had
I
read
got
one
you.
out loud during the break, and I was like, oh, grab that one first.
Right, because you told me to ask this today from yesterday.
Oh, I didn't. I'm not done with that one. I'm talking
Oh.
about the one just from before,
Oh, okay.
from the
Okay, well,
from the break, or not the break. What was it? When we were glitched out.
Yes.
When we were glitched out, and again, sorry about that. It's driving me nuts, you know.
Who was that by? It was the one about
Because Fox News is a bunch of chumps. That's why. I'll answer that, Daniel.
It was about the Biden brothers.
They're cowards. No, it wasn't about Biden. Can I see? I'll recognize. Can I see which one?
I got tons of stuff.
Let me see.
I gotta pick.
It was early. It glitched early. Okay. So it would be like toward the beginning of what you were saving because it glitched really, really early.
Yeah, but you see, I'm looking at 4 different platforms. So as they come in, I put them in. So it's not just like one platform's questions altogether. Any questions with America Rich taking out Lisa Paris approximately many? Oh, Bernie brothers. Sorry.
Oh, that's right.
How many Bernie brothers
ended
up voting for Trump?
And the ranked choice voting question from yesterday, I wanted to make like an actual segment.
Oh,
I just couldn't do it today because it was more like a freewheeling thing. But yeah, that's content for like an episode about rank. I mean, I could do a whole episode on ranked choice voting. So the question was, how many Bernie bros voted for Trump? In 2020, it was not as many as it was in 2016, and I'm going to tell you why. Bernie Sanders in 2016 had a completely different coalition than the one that supported him in 2020. In 2016, he had what was left of Obama's working class coalition. All right. They were demographically diverse, yes, but a lot of the white working class, and they were in suburbia to rural America. In 2020, he had the urban white, very progressive Democrat mixed with younger, more minority, new kind of Democrat. They just didn't come out for him, which is also another reason why, guys, the idea that this young vote would have come out in droves for Joe Biden is a joke because they didn't come out in the primary. Joe Biden won seniors in primaries and older, not even African Americans. He won older African Americans. In the first 4, he got blown out. Bernie Sanders was like 8 points away from him in the black vote in Nevada, in the caucus vote in Nevada. It was a total joke, this idea that like all of a sudden there would be an explosion of young voters for Joe Biden. They didn't like him. We know that. That's what Iowa and New Hampshire are designed to do. Nevada too. Mm-hmm. They're designed to give those more marginalized groups, younger groups, a chance to come out. And the bottom line is they didn't. New Hampshire turned out to be much closer because that younger vote did not come out. It didn't materialize. And we're supposed to believe it did for Joe Biden?
Sorry.
Are you out of your minds? It's ridiculous. Not to mention, that would be a complete another. Let's go to our favorite word. Yeah. Another. Where are you? I know you're still in here. There it is. That'd be another anomaly. Something that deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected. Example, there are a number of anomalies in the 2020 election results. And there are.
I love how you use the sentence.
Like this is an anomaly. There are 31 pivot counties in the state of Iowa, the most of any state, that voted for Donald Trump at 16 and Barack Obama in 08 and 012. Not a single damn one of them flipped back to Joe Biden. Yet Joe Biden was supposed to exhibit some kind of strength in the Midwest. These 31 pivot counties represent 26.11% of the statewide population in Iowa and have correctly predicted the national election result more than 70% of the time since 1960. That is a statistical anomaly. If they don't come out in the primary, in 08 they did. That's how Barack Obama took Iowa, which only Ann Selzer knew was going to happen. Everybody else had Hillary Clinton ahead. And not only did Obama win, he won pretty damn comfortably. That's an anomaly. If they don't materialize in the primary, they don't typically materialize in the general election. And in fact, we have seen where they did materialize in the primary, but then not in the general because their person lost. Hillary Clinton. Another great example. But you will not find me an example where these young voters did not come out in the primary and then suddenly materialized in the general electorate. That does not happen. And in fact, the early voting data, which Democrats were supposedly so far ahead on, that didn't support it.
Yet they just came in all of these late arriving ballots.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Interesting. An anomaly. Not something that is traditionally the case. So what we saw was a difference in coalitions from 16 to 20 who supported Bernie Sanders. And where did that come from? Him betraying those people. He did. He had an A rating from the NRA before he ran again in 2020. In 16, he was an A-rated gun rights supporter. I know that might shock a lot of you, but it's true. He was in total and complete agreement with Donald Trump on the impact immigration has on workers' wages. Complete and total agreement. He hated the trade deals of the 90s and the 2000s. Yet in 2020, because of Trump derangement syndrome, he turned his back on all those voters. And we could simply overlay Trump's primary support in 2020 versus 16. And you can see that without a doubt, the voters he was missing in 16 showed up in 2020. And they voted for Donald Trump. Anywhere between 12 and 18%, depending on the state, of those voters in 2016 ended up voting for Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton. And over that 4-year period, they just became more solid Trump supporters. He just took them. He took the left-wing populist working class voter. And that's how he was able to break records in primaries and in general elections.
So somebody asked,
which again is an anomaly because incumbent presidents don't do that and lose re-election. You will not find me an example of that anywhere ever in the history of the United States of America. It has never happened. Whole lot of anomalies.
Did Trump win all of Iowa, pivot counties, or just the majority?
Every single one of them. Every single one. All 31. And in only 3 did Joe Biden improve. In the rest, Trump either maintained or improved. We had a spreadsheet about it. Do you remember that? I can probably, here, one second.
Lord.
I won't show it and screw everything up. I'm just going to read you the counties where Joe Biden did better. Okay. There we go. Iowa pivot county margins, 08 to 12. In Cedar County, Iowa, Cerro Gorda, Iowa. Okay, it is more than 3, but Cedar County. Nope. In Clinton, Des Moines, and Dubuque, Trump did better. Jones, Marshall, and Tama. But when I'm talking about difference in the margins, guys, in Cedar County, Iowa, for instance, oh, no. I'm sorry. That's wrong. Oh, no. I'm not. It's right. I was right the first time. But I'm talking about marginal shifts. Are you ready? 17.78% was the margin in 16. 17.08% was the margin in 2020. Okay. It's 0.7 of a percentage point. In Cerro Gorda, 7.66, 6.32. In Jones County, 19.08, 18.52. In Marshall, 8.31, 7.71. You guys see in Tama, 20.28 versus 19.12. Guys, we're not even talking about multiple point swings here. We're talking about tens of a percentage point swings. It was ridiculous. In Clinton County, here's some of Trump's bigger ones where he actually increased. Clinton County, the margin was only 5.12 in 2020. It was 10.35. In 2016, it was 5.12. And in 2020, it was 10.35. In 2016, Des Moines, are you ready? Was 6.89. And in 2020, it was 8.54. So multiple points here. 5 points in Clinton, 1 point in Des Moines. In Dubuque, more than 1 point. 1.23. Donald Trump barely eked out Dubuque, which Barack Obama won by 21 points in 08. He won it by 15 points in 2012. So Trump barely eked it out, 1.23, but in 2020, he won it by damn near 3 points, 2.89. Barack Obama won Jackson County, in Iowa in 08 by 24.4 points. I'm going to round to tens now, okay? He won it against Mitt Romney by just on about 17 points. And in 2020, Donald Trump won it by 26 points. You understand these flips? And against Hillary Clinton, he only won it by 19. And I'm rounding again. Jefferson County, Barack Obama won it against McCain, 20 points. He won it against Romney, 16 points. Hillary Clinton lost it to Trump by a half a point, and then Trump beat Biden there by 1.4. In Lee County, this is an enormous swing. In Lee County, Barack Obama, and this is what's interesting about it, he didn't slip that much in Lee County. And, there were some areas against Mitt Romney where he slipped, and you could see that trend start to shift. Trump just exacerbated it. But this is a real incredible swing. Without Donald Trump, would have never happened. In Lee County, Iowa, Obama beat McCain by 16 points. In 2012 against Mitt Romney, 15.5. So not that big of a difference. Then in 2016, Donald Trump just wallops Hillary Clinton there by 16 points. Same margin as Obama against McCain. A little bit more if you're doing the tens. And then in 2020 against Joe Biden, he increases that margin by almost 4 points to 20% almost, to 19.4. All right. So Muscatine, another incredible 16 points against McCain. Obama carried it. 16 points against Mitt Romney. Obama carried it. Trump beat Clinton there by 6, a little over 6. And then he beat Biden there a little over 7. He won Union County, which Obama carried twice by 4 points. He won Union County against Joe Biden by 32 points. I mean, guys, get out of here.
Say more.
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. Winnesheck, 23-point margin, and Donald Trump won it by 5 more points than he beat Hillary Clinton there in 2016 in 2020 against Joe Biden. So you guys get my point. I mean, by the way, let me share it here. I'll send you guys this. I'll send them the link here. Let me copy the link, and let me just change anyone who has a link in view. Okay. All right. And I'm going to put it in the comment section here.
Yeah,
you may have to give it to Rumble. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, give me a freaking break. All right. Let me bring on my good friend, Don Smith. I had to go through that. I'm going to bring on Don. Soon we're going to start doing a little something new when we bring Don in, so we can preview what he's got going on or show you what he did have, so you guys can remember to go check it out. But Don, from the Don Smith Show, my good friend.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. It's a little early. I'll see you before it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Next Friday, it'll be the 8th, one day before it. Oh, God.
Birthday boy.
I got to be honest with you, Don. I'm not happy about it. I'm having a midlife crisis. Somebody joked to me the other day. I had put up on Locals yesterday, Allison Morrow's wine, or 2 days ago when it arrived.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw, and somebody was like, "Damn, you're old enough to drink," as a joke, and I look young, and that's great and everything, my friend. But I'm not. I'm more than halfway over my life, which I'm not. That's not the problem. The problem is what you can do or what you were able to do. I don't like getting older, man. I'm not like I used to be. I was in the Army. I was a hell of a soldier. I was a kickboxer, competitive Hogu fighter. I'm not happy about getting old. It sucks, man.
You're still sexy, baby.
She says I'm still sexy.
Wait till you're,
Wait
till you're old enough to hearken back to the days when you had a midlife crisis. Then you're old.
Man, and you know what? I had a flashback to when I was a younger kid, and my dad was not happy when he turned 40. And now my dad is, an older man. But my children did to me what I did to my dad. Like, I'm lamenting being, that age. And my kids were like, "Dad, don't worry. You look way younger. You look great." And they were giving me this. I remember when I said that to my father. And it's like, I was just a kid. I was like, "Dad, you look like you're in your late 20s, 30s. You look great." Don't worry about being 40. You look fantastic. You know, and he did. Still had jet black hair. Something happens to us at a certain age where, you know, I already have gray hair, though. I already have gray hair. I mean, you guys can't see it because of, you know, Paul Marshall rework, you know, and the lighting that I intentionally do. But, you know, you see me in real life, I'm salt and pepper, baby. You know, I mean, that's
just the way I like it.
And she loves it. She thinks it's great. She thinks it's distinguished and sexy, you know, but to a guy.
I got the same thing. Brenda's like that too. I love the gray in your beard. I'm
Women
like,
like it.
whatever.
Women seem to like that, man. They're like, you know, you're like, you know, you're halfway to Richard Gere's hair, you know, like, and I just like, I don't give a damn.
And
I like the way I feel.
I'm in the mirror going, oh no.
Yeah.
It's turning gray.
What the hell is this? It's so gray. It's silver. Damn it. You know?
What are you going to do?
So what, you know, so what did you think this week? First, before we get back to the Q&A, I got to ask you about, I mean, they're both lying scumbags, but obviously Milley and others ran away from Joe Biden over this Afghanistan thing. They did tell him to keep 2,500 soldiers to evacuate. And I got to be honest with you. I don't believe a damn word that comes out of Milley's mouth. I believed him. He was telling the truth.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I think he had a lot more to say that he wanted to say. So yeah, I think down the road we're going to find out a whole lot more about this whole thing. I think they're all just kind of letting it settle a little bit, and you're going to see all kinds of books coming out, and we're going to find out exactly what happened. But certainly, I mean, yeah, it's obviously that they're lying. It's just, but people don't care. That's what really bothers me is people don't care. They want to be lied to. Yeah. So you just heard the contradictory stuff there, but people want to be lied to. Half of this country chooses that. And that's, I think, the scariest thing that's going on right now.
And I think, you know what? I can show you statistically that that's absolutely true. Robert and I talked about this on Monday, but here we go again. Here's more backup from what we found, what Rasmussen found, Gallup found, Pew Research found. Now here's Gallup again. Are you ready? Estimated COVID. This is like, so what they're asking people is, what do you estimate the hospitalization risk is for the unvaccinated population by political party? All right. Look at Democrats. 41% of Democrats, Don, think that you are more likely than not, 50% or higher likely to end up in a hospital from COVID. Don, if you're unvaccinated, Don, when Alpha was out and there wasn't a vaccine, that wasn't even close.
Right.
I mean, and Republicans too have like they're only 20% of Republicans are right. You know what I mean? But at least such a fewer number are anywhere near these like ridiculous hospitalization rate. It's simply not true. You know that. You know, 20% to 16 and 6, much closer. It depends on the state, of course. But, you know, once you get to that 6 to 9 and up, you're freaking clueless. And almost half of the Democratic Party is living in an alternate reality, my friend.
Right.
And that's crazy.
That's where they want to live, though. And that's kind of my point, though. That's where they want to be. They want to be in this, please just give me something. You know, it's so Brett Kavanaugh, right? Supreme Court Justice comes down with COVID, fully vaccinated. So you see the same comments, the same comments on there all the time about, they give you the statistics. So it's 95% of the people in the hospital or with or that have COVID are unvaccinated. Well, that's not true.
It's not true.
If you get to the 30th time in the day where you have to post those statistics because somebody fully vaccinated came down with COVID, you might want to reevaluate your stance and kind of maybe look into those numbers a little bit deeper. But that's the world they want to live in right now.
And most of the states and the CDC are twisting them anyway, and they still can't get that to work. They still can't, because statisticians like me take it apart, even when they try to claim it and put it on their stupid little tracker or something. And like, if somebody like me comes along, or Mark or somebody else will be like, that's just statistically impossible. Here are how many people, and you go through all the different groups. So they're fudging them, and they still can't get it to make sense. Right. And in Florida, more than half of the people waiting for monoclonal antibody treatment are in fact vaccinated. So I don't know what the hell they're going to keep up this lie. When Israel is ahead of us, as far as shooting for vaccination immunity, and they are the clarion. What's the word? No, they are the canary in the coal mine. And are they going to continue to tell these lies forever? And I guess to some of the population they can, because like you said, they want to be lied to.
Yep. Look, what's going on in Australia. I mean, so I guess I'm thankful that I have two things. One, that I'm thankful we're not Australia, but number two, how close are we? Because we're on our way there. But look at the divide between Western Australia and Eastern Australia. Eastern is where all the mandates and all the heavy-handed stuff. You actually had somebody admit, they actually said out loud, the New World Order.
Yeah, I know.
Said it out loud. But look at the difference between what's going on in the two. In the West, they're free. They're going to soccer matches and they're living their lives and everybody just getting along. They don't have any worse numbers than what you have in Eastern, where you can't even leave your house after 9 p.m. at night. And you got a SWAT team on you, throwing you down to the ground. I mean, that is really crazy that we're seeing stuff. But it's all over the world. It's happening in Italy right now. Huge protests against the mandates, trucker strikes. It's going on in France. It's going on all over the world right now.
Tragic. Just freaking tragic. Really is. I don't know what else to say. It's horrible. And they gave up their right to their right and their ability to defend themselves, and now they're just subjected to running away like a bunch of whats and getting shot in their back. I mean, it's just pathetic. All right, let's get some questions. Go ahead, Laura.
So since we are a bunch of Floridians up in here, I know we're Carolinians or Carolinians.
Carolinians. But are we really?
Yeah, I know.
Are we really? Hey.
So all the marbles, can you explain to those in the chat how hot Florida is? Laura Barris, maybe scare some of the liberal voters away.
Don, you take that, buddy. I bet Don can do this good.
To all the leftists out there living in this alternative reality, it's way too hot here. Don't come here. Stay where you're at. It's unbearable. To the rest of you, it's beautiful. I love it.
And don't forget, and also don't forget that the viruses don't really react to temperatures. There's no research to support that, according to Dr. Fauci. So the sun does not help you. So go somewhere really dark and really cold.
Yep.
Except for Alaska.
And to the leftists, there's dead bodies everywhere. It's awful. It's horrible. You have like a 2% chance of survival if you come to Florida. So don't come here. Stay where you're at. You're good.
You see that report the other day that Florida got the most Hispanic surge in population than any other state? Look where they came from. I was about to fall over because I was reminded of you and I talking, and I said, I told you privately, but I didn't want to say publicly about the Venezuelans, and I didn't want to talk about it. And now I'm just kind of chuckling at it because you take a hit, like you put out those numbers, and people are like, that's impossible. He can't be doing that well in Miami. And you just have to sit there and suck it up when you're right. And now here we are, fast forward all these months, a year over, and here we are. And now it's just laughable. It's hilarious. And they still yet Don pretend like they're smart, like like they're ahead of some curve or something. They just react. That's all they do. They're not, they just react, and they're typically wrong and reacting too late. So something else has already changed the dynamic of what they're talking about. It's like Hillsborough County being the bellwether for 6 years after it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. All right, go ahead. That was a good one, though.
Yeah, I thought so. You gave me a hard task now.
Well, okay, I got one.
So let's ask. A lot of people are asking this question about the Pfizer Mectin and ivermectin and the pill that just came out.
Yeah, Merck. The Merck.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful about that because YouTube.
I said that word.
Yeah, you can't say that word. YouTube this. But Pfizer is doing their own product, so I mean, it's like, how do you avoid it now, right? So this is the thing with this show. 6 months ago, something that we said was true was a conspiracy theory, and I mean, it's just very difficult to do. I mean, right. I'm gonna leave. Look, guys, there's some things right now. I mean, people are on a YouTube Q&A There are just some things we don't want to dive into. It's not that I'm intentionally going to not talk about something that I think they're probably going to censor later, because I'm just not going to do that. That's not the point of the show. But at this point, it would be, we know the deal with that specifically. I will say though, Don, with the Merck thing, let me ask you this. I think Scott Adams is going off the rails. Scott, I don't know what the hell is with you, man. You're just trying. Look, since you're so good about self-consciousness and everything, and introspection and cognitive dissonance, and you always like to talk about that, let me explain to you what you've been doing. You have been trying to justify your decision to stab yourself twice. So you're changing how you view other people, and you're calling everybody who refuses to take this vaccine as anti-vaxxers. So you are now playing into the language war that they're using. You're using their terminology because, of course, pre-Scott Adams, who chose to vax himself, would know that somebody is not anti-vax because they didn't take this vaccine. You know that, or at least the pre-vaccinated Scott Adams knew that. You're going off the rails, man. I hate to tell you. But he did ask the question whether or not he thought anti-vaxxers would be less likely to, basically criticize this new Merck, treatment because it's also going to not be FDA approved. It's going to be unstudied. It'll be for EUA at first. And he's basically saying because it's a needle. That's why people are so opposed to the vaccination. I got to tell you, Don, I think that's just a bunch of nonsense disguised as intellectual conversation.
It's ridiculous. And I'm seeing a lot more of that. So so you get this thing and maybe you have a little bit of self-doubt, or maybe you're like, maybe that wasn't the right decision, but then they go full bore and they get all into the whole terminologies and the talking points and all these kind of things. So is it to make himself feel better?
That's exactly what it is, my friend.
It sure seems like it. But here's the thing with all this other stuff, and I won't mention any names of all these things coming out. These mandates and the approach by the Biden administration has given you no options, right? This is your only option. Take the jab. It's your only option. So now that these other things are coming out, there's other treatments, there's other ways to deal with this.
Pfizer, this
therapeutics. And so this is going to be really interesting what happens here, because now there are alternatives. They're out there. People know about them. They seem to be effective. So does the government go full bore and just lock these people down on these new therapeutics, or how does this work? And what does it do to change the perception? But they made everything so rigid, and that includes natural immunity no longer exists magically. So they've taken every other option away to where this is your only option, and now options are expanding. So what does that do to the people out there with all this rhetoric and all this talk and stuff? I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Pills out of Merck and Pfizer. Pfizer will have their EUA this month on an antiviral, which is much more like a Tamiflu. So why then, Don, would they have pushed so hard for these vaccinations, for these mandates, knowing damn well that those other options are coming, man?
Yep. And okay, so
doesn't sound like public health, does it? Sounds more like police power.
The whole thing about being afraid of needles, which is just stupid. But okay, but let's be honest. If you did a poll of people, whatever sample size you want to do, and you ask them, what would you rather do? Get a needle stuck in your arm or take a pill?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be probably, unless the sadomasochists, I guess, would go, I'll take the jab. But most people, would go, well, if I can take a pill, I'll take a pill. It's a lot easier. So it's not about being afraid. It's like, what's the lesser of two evils?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? We are, let me just throw that in the comment section. I figure start earlier. Let me just write it out. Public polling project. Start earlier as opposed to like bombarding everybody or putting pressure on everybody at the end as we get to it. I just tweeted out there is a new thing up for the public polling project. I got to move some over. I think it's like $100 and something. It's brand new. That's the first time I've ever shared it. So I think there's like maybe $140 or something that was in the last form.
That's I would have to go back and look, but that's got to be moved over to this one now. And we are deciding what other questions we're going to ask. Now we know the boosters are out 65 plus, so we're adding that as well because we had a pretty big chunk of people who said they got the 2-dose shot who will not get the booster. So now you're going to have them on top of the people who refuse to get the shot. I mean, you got a related question that's safe to answer here on YouTube.
Yeah, sorry about that.
For crying out loud,
and I just said
you're the producer of the show.
I know. Okay,
you tell me what I'm not supposed to say.
He who mutes himself, okay? Leave me be. All right.
Now.
Hello, Laura Barris. Question for Rich in regarding Texas Ted Cruz. Only beat Beto by 60,000 votes, and Harris County is suspected of voter fraud. What happens if Beto wins Texas governor's race? And the reason why is she's also concerned about Allen West's spoiler campaign and Beto pulling the Hispanic and transplant California. Yeah,
I got to tell you though, those who have left California and moved to Texas are not the reason why that they're having a problem. That actually saved Ted Cruz from losing to Beto O'Rourke. The more liberal, affluent Dallas kind of Dallas, Austin, white Anglo voter, which used to be a 2-to-1 at least margin for Republicans in Texas, is no longer anymore. It's in the 50s, so you have to win that kind of transplant vote. You have to win more of the Hispanic vote. Hispanics denied Joe Biden in Texas, not white voters. I mean, that's a myth. It's just total freaking myth. I would say this though, the Beto who ran against Ted Cruz in 2018 was beloved like Barack Obama in the media, unvetted totally. And nobody heard his positions that we have now since then heard. You're damn right. What did he say, Don? You ran that clip. Am I coming for your guns? Damn right I am.
Damn right I am. Yep, damn right I am.
There's no way. He can't. It's over.
Yep.
He killed himself. He should have thought before he wanted to be president, which was ridiculous. He should have thought about the future a little bit better, which is maybe run as a moderate again. That image you procured, you bought that image for a historical amount of money in a Texas Senate race. You spent more than anyone has ever spent in the state of Texas to build a fake image because it's not true. He should have shut his big, stupid mouth, right? That's it. He bought himself and used that image that he already purchased for $80 million and put it towards a governor's race in 4 years, in 2 years, in whatever it was going to take. But he didn't want to wait that long. He wanted to run for president because he thinks the world owes him something, because he thinks his you-know-what doesn't stink, because he thinks he's more important and smarter than he actually is. He's a nobody. He's somebody in a D+10 national mood in a first-term incumbent midterm. It's the most favorable environment you're going to get, who still couldn't win. Still couldn't win with a fake personality, a fake image, a not very popular incumbent in a D+10 mood with everybody lying on his behalf, and he still couldn't win. And now he's supposed to come in a year that's going to be our something. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but they already have a lead on the generic ballot. They have a 5-point generic ballot lead in Georgia and a 1 in nationally. Folks, Republicans don't have to win the national popular generic ballot vote. They don't have to knock off seats, to keep governorships they shouldn't have kept, to win Senate races they shouldn't have won. It will disproportionately favor Republicans if it's even. Even. R plus nothing. R plus 0, D plus 0. If it's R plus anything, people like Beto are going to get wiped out Wendy Davis style. I mean, I really don't think people understand how this is going to go. Why don't you tell the people of Texas when you were against the heartbeat bill, since 66% of them supported it? So, I mean, it's over. The veil is gone, Don. The emperor's clothes are gone. I don't know what to say. He's a nothing. The media's blowing this idiot up like they blew him up when he ran for president. He's a freaking nobody. I'll let you go before I curse.
Well, yeah. Look at where his Look at where his money came from. His money came from the liberals
Silicon
and
Valley,
elite
Hollywood.
Silicon Valley, Hollywood. He was
Wall
he was a created character.
That's
And
it.
the character Beto was much more attractive as a candidate than the actual Beto when he's in when he's in his dentist's office live streaming him in his dentist, or he's dancing on top of the bar top, and so you're right, he would have been better off just not speaking, let the character live, because he killed the character.
He did it. All of that money from Wall Street, K Street, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, all of that money he took to build an image that was fake. You knew it, I knew it, but the world didn't know it. Texas didn't know it. They thought he was a cool, moderate Democrat who could be, a viable alternative to Ted Cruz, who maybe sometimes they think goes a little bit too far and is after healthcare. Also remember that, guys. Ted Cruz is the anti-Obamacare Republican. He shut the government down in 2010 because he knew that if he didn't, or 2010, right? Something like that. 2013 even, I think it may have been. I don't remember. But he was the only real crusader in an election cycle in 18, which was all about healthcare. Beto O'Rourke ran against his record on healthcare. He tried to take away your pre-existing conditions. He wanted your disabled children and your dying parents with COPD to lose their health care. I mean, it was the perfect year to try to take out Ted Cruz, and he freaking failed. And now that image is gone, he's not going to do it. I mean, look, I am a little bit concerned about some people being nominated that may not fit Texas perfect. I mean, they tend to like the Rick Perrys and the George Bushes Rick Perry was a really popular guy. Even Abbott, he won. When Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke were really close on, Abbott was like, that's what he did with his Democratic opponent. He got up out of that chair and kicked his butt. It was so bad. But all politics are local, really, truly, in a gubernatorial election. And I don't see the partisan shift. I don't see the partisan lean changing all that much yet. I just don't, man. I don't know. What do you think about that? The difference between the governorship and the senator's race?
Yeah, I am a little concerned. Part of that question was about Alan West, and love Alan West. Known him for a long time. He's a great candidate. He's a great politician. He's a great person. But I am a little concerned about that. What does that peel off? You got Chad Prather out there, same thing, to a lesser degree. So what does that do? I'm a little concerned about that. But I think at some point here they'll coalesce around whoever it is and support him. So I think the Beto thing was an anomaly. I think it was a period of time where this happened. I think that's gone now. I think he's a shell of what he was then, or what he was created to be. And again, I think he killed his own thing there. So the bottom line is
sound bites, Don, that could be run again. It's just he really kicked himself in his ass in his own. He did. Yeah,
he's a creepy person. He's very creepy. I think that vibe comes across to not even just Republicans. I think there's Democrats that go, wow, that guy's pretty creepy.
Weird.
So you can be as popular as anything in California and Silicon Valley and all that. So it doesn't help you in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just stepped over the line. I mean, that's it. If he would have just shut his mouth, he could have been an effective gubernatorial candidate in 2022. But he couldn't. He wanted to be president. I mean, these people really think the world of themselves, Don.
They do.
When they achieve nothing. He's a nobody. He's like a freshman representative. He thought he was going to be president of the United States?
Yep.
Are you freaking kidding? Like, dude, that's delusional.
That was his biggest mistake.
Delusion.
That was his biggest mistake, was the run for presidency, because that's where he really was exposed.
Yeah. I totally agree. And then going on the, to support Joe Biden, making that comment. What a freaking idiot. Go ahead, Laura. I see your finger in the air.
His ego.
It's unbelievable ego.
Yeah.
Puppet 2 or Puppet. I don't know where you're from.
Puppet.
Trying to understand your laws. Can the vice president take her role as she was an anchor baby? And also, why isn't anyone not talking about what India is doing, how they are conquering COVID?
I can't use the word on how India is conquering COVID, but they are absolutely using. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm going to be dancing, or I'll dance around this.
but I will send you a link. I can get it off my Twitter page. I believe I did retweet it. There have been some leaks from CMS data, and you will, speaking of that word that we don't use, here it is.
The word that cannot be named.
The word that cannot be named. This guy, this lawyer, his name is Thomas Renz. He's been on a kick about why the media won't talk about treatment, right? And federal employees went to him and dumped a bunch of leaks on him. And I don't know if you saw this video, Don, but he went through a presentation, and it's not. I don't want to say the words, but it's not good. And he said, "We got them. Fact check this, you sons of," because it's government documents. You can clearly see what the CMS has to say about the I word, what the CMS has to say about Trump's poison, which they told us was going to kill us. And then also Fauci's favorite treatment, which started with an R. The numbers will shock you when you see how much they lied to you. And I'm just going to send you that. Nobody's talking about India because they can't, because it includes the I word, and they've made the decision the major media has made the decision to lie to you about the I word. Now, on the anchor baby thing, if you spoke to one lawyer, they might tell you one thing, and another might tell you a totally different thing. I'm a historical guy and a numbers guy. I'm not a lawyer. But from a historical point of view, the case everyone refers to with the Chinese immigrant does not apply. And the Supreme Court did not rule on that. So his parents, totally different situation. I'm not a lawyer, and I'll ask you, Don, maybe I'll defer to you on this, but I'm more strict about this. I am, because subject to the jurisdiction of was debated strongly, and it was a sticking point. It was a poison pill. Like, how you were going to interpret this was a poison pill. And the author of the bill himself, of the language, of that bill, very clear. Very clear what he meant. I mean, he spelled it out on the floor, for crying out loud. It's in the minutes from the session are documented, and yet we still pretend as if.
Yeah, not a lawyer either, but yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is it's deep. Some of it's, the how do you define this and how do you define that, and how do the courts interpret it, which is always the final determining factor on all this stuff. This is one of the things I said, and I heard this about 3 times already this week, because it's always got to be about the other side. We see the debacle at the southern border, right? We see everything that's going on. And it's always got to be the Republicans' fault that these things are happening. But the term I've heard 3 times this week, which we've heard for a million times in the last, 20 years now, is comprehensive immigration reform. Whenever the leftists say that word, use that phrase, that means they plan on doing absolutely nothing. And this is just because this is one example of it. It's like, okay, how does this get defined, and how do you work through this? And it's the whole thing about the what is it, where we're going to give everybody citizenship and all this kind of stuff. Everybody who's here gets it. And all this stuff is really complex. So whenever a leftist says comprehensive immigration reform, they have no intentions of doing anything. They are perfectly happy with the way it is right now. So this is just kind of one of those, the minutia kind of things in the details. And not a lawyer either. So you can make it a case for either side of it. And it's always going to come down to the courts and how they decide to deal with this.
And I think it's like, falls into the category of church and state kind of ruling. That's what I would anticipate from these hacks in black robes. The modern church and state idea, guys. I don't have a virtuous republic around, do I? I don't. But I mean, I could point you to the decision in the letter. It's a modern fabrication. It's a modern fabrication of a misinterpretation of a letter Thomas Jefferson wrote to somebody else. I mean, they came up with this. We went over this. My family we had this conversation yesterday. Because of the role that the church once played in education in Massachusetts late into the 19th century. They ran public education, Don. They ran it. Even after that ruling came down, they resisted it because they were the descendants of the Congregationalist Church, what people know as the Puritans, and that was their history. And they're like, you're just going to basically no thank you and then boot us. We've been doing this service for hundreds of years since we got to this damn colony, since we got to this piece of rock, and it's just, I could see them not following the letter of the law there either, and just saying, well, this is now our new culture, which is what that judge did in that case.
Well, look what's going on with this whole. Look at the whole thing with the mandates, right? So, what do you see all over social media? Is you've got all these people regurgitating this thing that the courts have already decided. The Supreme Court's already decided that you can do this, and they cite a specific case. It's like Jacob versus Massachusetts or whatever it is. I don't know. The ruling in that case was that states have the right to, in this case, they couldn't do the fine, but it was not about the federal government. So all these people saying it's already been decided, this has already been, no, it hasn't.
Fact checkers saying.
Yep, and all the fact checkers, all the independent fact checkers agree. Let that sink in.
Jacobson is what it is. Jacobson. And but in Don, in some of the precedent that was relied on for that, that's still, and I got to be careful because I know a lawyer who got a strike talking about the legal prerequisite for this kind of ruling. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There has to be a certain minimal efficacy. And I'm not going to get into it, but it's not met here. All right? That standard is not met. Their burden is not met. And they have to be able to say to the court, we're trying to prevent. That's it. And they can't do that here. They can't, no matter what they say, Don. Anyone who is not too lazy to go and read the submission for emergency use authorization from Pfizer will read that was not the goal nor the stated nor the stated effect. It was never supposed to reduce. It was supposed to eliminate, my friend. And they did this. That's a political definition. Mm-hmm. That is not a medical definition. And since this thing started, we have seen the CDC change the term of what it means to be Fauci juiced three times.
They evolved.
3 times.
They evolved, yeah.
So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the well-known medical term vaccination, which has been around for how many years, has suddenly changed. Yep. Folks, that kind of stuff scares the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. It really does. And when people accept it, and they don't know, or many just don't notice it. Like you said, Don, it really comes down to many don't care. They'd rather be lied to. Just lie to me and tell me it's going to be okay. And if I have to scream at the other that you created and it's their fault, well, damn it, put a Jewish star in their chest and let me at them. That's the way some of these people, many of these people are. They've lost the ability to critically think for themselves too, which is
scary.
That's it. That's a wrap then, my friend, because this whole thing is predicated on you being able to use your reason. God gave you reason that you may know he existed. And if you don't get that, Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Yeah. If we've lost the basics of this shit, then it's what the hell? Then pack your bags. What do you think? I mean, honestly,
it's all that thing that so Laura brought up a great point. They evolve. The left evolves, the right flip-flops. So it's it's terminology, it's messaging, and it's so entrenched in people's minds that, and they just want somebody to give me a case so I can go around and say, this has already been decided. And then they all say it. They always knew. It's the whole Betsy Ross flag and Colin Kaepernick. We always knew it was racist. No, it wasn't. Yesterday it wasn't. Look at the healthcare workers, the New York City thing, right? On Sunday, Sunday they were heroes. They were frontline heroes saving lives. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of them on Monday were POSs, right? They were the worst people on the face of the earth, and I'm glad they're losing their jobs. And it only took overnight and an edict put down by government to all of a sudden shift everybody's views. And now we're dividing them up. And these people, the police officers who are quitting because they don't want to get it, the state troopers, good, we're getting rid of all the bad cops. And they really believe that. They really believe that's the measure of humanity now, is whether you get the jab or not. They want to live in that paradigm. They want to live in that alternative reality, and they're going to live in it no matter what. There's nothing anybody can do about it. That's where they want to be.
And Don, these are the same damn people since Obamacare, the debate over Obamacare.
Healthcare is a right that you can't deny to anybody. And now they want you to not be able to get vaccinated. I watched a doctor, this idiot doctor on Twitter, and Robert retweeted. He's like, imagine thinking like you're a good person for tweeting this. You're a doctor and you're saying, you know what? My wife and I have declared that nobody will be allowed in our home if they don't have 2 negative tests or a vaccine passport. Dude, I don't need to go in your home. I mean, this is it's crazy, and it's fine. It's his home. He can do what he wants. But imagine thinking you're virtuous and tweeting that publicly.
Mm-hmm. The same people who tweet "Vote blue, no matter who." Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, they hate them now. They're primarying them. We got to get them out there. Oh my God! Did you see the presser?
I was just going to say.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! I should have uploaded that.
Whoa.
He's Trump now. I mean, holy crap!
I'm pretty sure the media is supposed to ask questions, not shout the person down and filibuster and just keep going and going. He's trying to answer because there was a little question at the beginning and the lady's just and he's like, oh my God, it was a feeding frenzy. I don't think that's journalism.
Because they're punks. They're the ones who got slapped around on the during recess, and they're like little show. The same thing like Antifa, a bunch individually, a bunch of little whats. Right. But together they feel empowered. That mobocracy, they feel empowered by it, and they want to make people pay for their, for their weakness, for their individual weakness. They turn to collectivism for empowerment, and then they want to punish those who are not individually weak. Because say what you will about Joe Manchin, I don't like the guy. He's been a fence rider but here he is. It's not easy what he's doing. The president of the United States has now 3 times, not once, not twice, but thrice, tried to bribe the man, all right, to shut him up and make him go along with not just one thing, everything they've been doing. Those bribes were to get on board, period. They weren't for one bill, and he refused it. And obviously, so did Kirsten Sinema. Now the New York Times is running profiles on Kirsten Sinema, saying that, did you know this is her lobbyist? And that, did you know Big Pharma owns Capitol Hill? So freaking what? You know what I mean? So she's got a lobby that opposes this and opposes that. So what? As if this is something different, Don. Are you crazy? I mean, this is nuts, man. This is nuts. And, I just, we are hanging by a thread because we are. All of this is dependent, whether or not, by the way, folks, you're allowed to build wealth as a family, generationally. All of that is hanging by a thread. The backs of 2 senators that will, because we have some traitors on the right, boy. Let me tell you. Traitors in the Senate. And that was Trump's main problem, is that the Republican Party really was not what it claimed to be. I mean, especially when you get to the upper chamber, especially. And now we're relying on 2 Democratic senators. Mark Kelly turned out to be a pushover punk, didn't he? Is he going to use the shooting of his wife for the rest of his political career? He's such a dirtbag. He's a slimy little man. He ran as a moderate. Everybody else knew he was full of crap, but whatever. The voters of Arizona bought it. Look at you now. Look at you. He's going to sell Arizona up the river, boy. And then he's going to go to you and he's going to say, but you remember my wife was shot in the head by a sick individual. Gun violence. That's what he's going to pull that card forever. If God forbid anything like that happened to my wife, I would never seek to politically capitalize on it or capitalize in any way, shape, or form. I can only imagine what kind of a dark-souled dirtbag would do something like that, my friend. I'm sorry.
Joe Biden.
But
his wife. But
these people don't have souls, man, or something.
Joe Biden didn't just use his wife and the death of his wife. He come on, Beau Biden. How many times does he shove that? He can't get through a single interview without mentioning Beau Biden. And it's all just using him for politics. It's all to make him look better, make him look better than he does, and make him a war hero and all these kind of things. He is politicizing his dead son and his dead wife. His wife, he's done it his whole entire career. That's a dirtbag. That's a really awful person.
That's how he got elected. Reelected. The death of his dead wife. And then this is what he's been doing with Bo for years. You know, if I was George Stephanopoulos or somebody and he pulled that crap with me sitting in a chair across from him, I'd say, look, if you care so much about Bo Biden and his honor and everything, then why'd you let your crack addict son sleep with his wife? You know what I'm saying? I mean, is this the kind of family you're running on over here? Are you the patriarch of you know, I got to watch my language here, but I mean, are you the patriarch of a porn gallery? What the hell is going on at your house, Joe? And by the way, why don't you recognize the legitimacy of your grandson, you old rich dirtbag? Why don't you do that? You got every advantage in life to offer that kid. You're going to pretend he doesn't exist?
Yep.
What kind of a man does that, Don?
The kind that the only time he was ever even asked about that, about the affair between, you know, the only time they were ever asked about that, he said, we're just happy that they found love, that they both found love. It ripped apart all two families. It ripped apart, and that was his comment. We're just happy that they both found love.
Don, it's your blood. You know, how much shame it may bring to your family, whatever. You know, it's still your blood, and you have a lot to offer the kid that he obviously is not going to get without your help. What kind of... He's a deadbeat grandpa, dude. And I hate deadbeat dads. I hate them as if I didn't have my own problems when my first child was born. You suck it up.
Yep.
You suck it up and you do what you're supposed to do. Deadbeat moms, deadbeat dads, all the same. I don't mean to just tag dads here. I mean, you know, that is the foundation of society. And you're the worst. You're a scourge on the rest of us. Deadbeats are a scourge on the rest of us because they create this cycle. Is very difficult to get out of. It creates weakness at the basic building block level of a strong nation. Because strong family, strong community, strong municipality or township or city or whatever it is you have. Strong cities, strong states, strong nation. It's not a hard thing to figure out. And the minute you start, the minute the foundation of that collapses, which is the nuclear family, once that collapses, this is not a matter of opinion. This is statistically proven. This is a fact. And once that happens, it's over. It's over. And you weaken your nation as a whole. So, I mean, the guy's got everything in the world. I mean, I would help people, that aren't even that close to me and relay, that aren't blood, if I was in his position. And that's another thing. He's been a cheapskate with charity his whole life until he wants to run for president. He's been a cheapskate. You know it. Remember when he ran for vice president? What a joke. Guy gave nothing. The guy's all about him. Should have the Chinese kick back to your favorite charity, Joe. 10% to the big guy. How about 10% to the big guy's favorite charity? I just can't. I can't stomach deadbeats. Can't stand them. And people who use the tragedy of their own. You're a special kind of scumbag to do that, to use your wife and your son. After the multiple families of the victims of the Kabul attack tell you it's not appropriate, don't do it. You're not making me feel like you empathize with me, and I don't sympathize with your situation. I mean, you heard them. The families, loud and clear. And they were right. And we spoke about this on the show a couple of times. Very different situation. Bo died of cancer. They died. Those 13 service members died of his poor leadership. Very, very different. Not equatable. And he still does it. He did it multiple times after he was asked by the families publicly in interviews, stop doing it. What does he do? His poll numbers start to decline. He does it again. I mean, that's a real dirt. I'm sorry. I don't care what Donald Trump said to Billy Bush, dude, when he thought he was off on camera walking into it. I mean, that doesn't remotely compare to that level of scumbag. It doesn't. Think, well, you talk about women like that. You know how most women talk about men? You think a men's locker room is bad? Come on, girls. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. You know, you could be just as bad as men, if not worse sometimes. That's not the same thing. What we're talking about here is they thought about it. It went through the custody of several people on his staff. He got drafts of the copy and looked at it again.
days and days, these people are saying don't say it. They pass around this speech. Everybody looks at it. A presidential speech? No oversights there is my point. You know? It's not an oversight.
Yep.
I don't know, Don. Messaging-wise, that's what you do. So you know better than anybody. That was intentional. That was an intentional. I don't really give a damn. I got an agenda. My COVID numbers are falling. This thing is a disaster. And I got to pull out the big guns here and try to get some kind of sympathy from the nation. That's what that was. And, you know, this is what I wanted to ask you before we go. And I appreciate you staying. We glitched out in the beginning of the show when I tried to share a screen. So I wanted to give people an extra 15 minutes. And I appreciate you hanging tight. But I wanted to ask you this. The testimony, all of that we heard, everything with Afghanistan, the stuff with COVID, there's a theme developing here. And Marsha Blackburn put it best. It really isn't possible to explain with incompetence. Maybe they were incompetent by not recognizing the impact of these policies, but the evidence and, you know, the timeline and the documentation and the testimony, they suggest that these decisions were intentional. Like they intentionally screwed up this way. Maybe they didn't realize the impact of how bad the withdrawal would be, but they intentionally took the risk of the loss of human life in order to, they believed they would get a political win out of withdrawing. Same thing with COVID. They intentionally withheld monoclonal antibodies. You know, with at the risk of human life. They intentionally are doing this crap. I got to get from a messaging guy. You're a messaging guy. Everything you've heard, I think we all have heard. Do they not understand or care about the consequences? And I think this maybe go back to the conversation we had a couple weeks ago about just humanity, you know, and this lack of humanity because you have a different belief system that doesn't really pride you. I'll shut up and let you get your. What do you think, Don?
I think the messaging that they were trying to do here, the messaging win that they wanted, like you said, this was all about getting a political win, was that he's not Donald Trump. So he's going to do the opposite of it, no matter what the consequences are. We see that on the southern border. Same thing. He did the opposite, and look at the consequences. Afghanistan, he goes, I'm going to do the opposite. He does the exact. So it's the same thing. So the worst thing happens. Now they're trying to say that, oh no, I was doing the Donald Trump thing, and everybody knows that he wasn't. So they're all twisted up on their own messaging, which is amazing. I think there's a lot more to come out of this. We saw those hearings. People admitting that, we told him, man. Well, I'm not going to say what I told him in private, but I know he was aware of it.
Yeah.
Where he told George Stephanopoulos, nope, nobody did that. So yeah, he's in a really bad spot. But what scares me is look at the drone strike, because this is what these people do. When they get mad when they lose their strategy doesn't work. They get mad at the American people. There was the one time where one of the reporters asked Jen Psaki, he seemed really angry, which he did. Every press conference he gave, he was angry. And then he'd turn around and he'd walk away with no questions answered. And they asked,
he says, and that has been the real Joe Biden. Let me just jump in and say that real quick. You know it.
Oh yeah. He's never been a nice guy.
Always been the real Joe Biden. He's never a nice guy.
Never been a nice guy. Yeah. So the question was, who was he angry with? And she goes, well, that's a strange interpretation. No, that's how everybody interpreted it. But that's a strange interpretation. The American people need to. So the answer to the question was, who's he angry at? The American people. That's not just conservatives. So if you're out there and you're living on this alternative reality on the left, they're talking about you too. You're not in his club. Nobody's in his club. Only his upper echelon people, only the elitists. Yeah, you're just a tool.
You're a tool.
So he was angry at the American people. He's still angry at the American people. He's always been angry at the American people. Think about that, people. You just elected this guy who's angry at you, doesn't like you, despises you.
Yeah.
So there you go. But this has turned out really bad for these guys. The drone strike, to make my point. So he does the drone strike just as a diversion, but also to get a win. He had to get some kind of a small win. See, I stopped another terrorist attack.
Then he killed a bunch of kids.
Innocent kids, an innocent family, an aid worker, somebody that was there actually working to help, and he killed them. And they have no remorse whatsoever over it. And that was very clear in the hearings this week.
And yet, even Fox News, which addresses a question I saw before Laura had put, yet even Fox News, again, just yesterday, again with the, we have a drone strike. According to unnamed officials, we have a drone strike. It killed 2 Al-Qaeda leaders. Again, how many times are they going to do this?
Yep.
We're going to find out those 2 were not Al-Qaeda.
Yep.
Those people were not Al-Qaeda. Guys, almost 100% to you right now. Because if they did, they would cite their names and they would be on the record.
Yes.
That's the way they work.
When the drone strike happened with Soleimani, right away, you knew who got killed. They know who they're... Okay, it was the whole thing that Rand Paul did here in the previous week's hearings when he said, don't you think we ought to know who we're offing before we off them with a drone strike? And the answer to that is the obvious. They do know. Yeah. They have facial recognition technology. They know who they're killing. And if you don't know, don't pull the trigger, for God's sakes. Is that who we are? He likes to use the phrase, that's because that's not who we are, or horse whipping people. That's not who we are. So who are we? We're the people that go around and just killing innocent people with a drone strike? Or, well, we didn't know who it was. Okay, then don't kill them. To Rand Paul's point, don't kill them then. Maybe wait and find out who it is. But yep, you're absolutely right. If they actually killed 2 Al-Qaeda leaders, we would know who they are.
And I said that the day they did this with the ISIS-K. We killed 2 guys. You ever notice the numbers are the same? We killed 2 ISIS-K leaders. We killed 2 Al-Qaeda leaders. Meanwhile, it wasn't. It was a family of 7 or 9 or something, including 2 children who were under the age of 6.
That's who we are, apparently.
Disgusting. And you know what? We said this, watch when there's a foreign policy failure, watch out. Because, and by the way, North Korea just lobbed a missile a week and a half ago. I mean, they just have no respect whatsoever. Had Donald Trump been reelected, Kim Jong-un would have came back to the table. We would have had that resolved as well. And instead, we got all of this crap that is just unnecessary. Just totally unnecessary. And I'll give this to you too before we go. And I was trying to touch on it, but somebody said, why does Fox do this? It's perfect. Why do they do this? And I can tell you, they were very upset. They lost out on debate money with the DNC. I mean, it's a business, guys. They don't get guests. And then, so, if they're constantly in an echo chamber, then they're not attracting every demographic they could possibly attract. Fox News' business model was built on trying to bring in at least some moderate Democrats, So, I mean, what do you think about that, Don? I mean, you've been in the biz a while. I mean, what, with the exception of Tucker Carlson, Fox News know better.
And I don't doubt for a minute that if they could yank Tucker Carlson off the air in a second, they would do it.
Yep.
They can't. He's become too big, and he has really surprised me because he really took that Bill O'Reilly spot, and he's really run. I didn't know that I didn't think he would do that good with it, but he's gotten so big. He speaks the truth, and they can't stop him. So he's too big for them, and that's impressive. They've got an agenda. Fox News has an agenda, and they change that agenda. They move it around, and they go, okay, well, we better go more this way instead of just doing what I think most people would like to do.
No foundation, no core.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always an agenda there at Fox News. They play a lot of games. I'm dealing with some of that right now with trying to get an interview with somebody who's got to deal with Sean Hannity and whatever. There's a lot of politics at Fox News, and it's a game, and they all have an agenda. The leaders there have an agenda, and so you're going to get what you're going to get. Better than CNN, better than MSNBC, but there's still an agenda there, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I should have. I was surprised. I knew he'd do well, but I was surprised with how well he really did do, and I didn't even know it when I was going on. I said to Laura, I was like, "What's this guy's nightly viewership?" I wish I didn't ask because he put me at risk. I did. She was like, "Dude, it's like 5-6 mil," and I'm like, "Oh shit." And I was like, oh man, yeah, Hannity is a client. Him and Ingram, Don is right. I'm looking at the chats. Don, 100%, you guys. Hannity and Ingram cannot carry that prime time by themselves. They would completely collapse. Hannity was losing to Rachel Maddow for a long time. So, it's just and Ingram is like, a lot of people. I talked to some people who stopped watching her. They felt like, she did not follow through. she just didn't follow through all the way. And I got to tell you, I kind of agree with that. I mean, the bottom line is there was a lot of information available to a lot of people. If they wanted to run with certain things, they could have. They didn't. They chose not to. I mean, Tucker was the only one. Only one. And he did it right, because some of the stuff that was distractions after the election that you and I have talked about many times, it was just that, distraction. And, he at least tried to put it in its proper context as we got more information.
If you look at Tucker Carlson, so you watch Tucker Carlson, you hear something on his show, at least one thing every night that Fox has been on all day long. And this isn't something that just happened just as he was on the air. You hear something that you didn't hear all day long on Fox News.
Yep.
Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Every single night.
That is a great observation, Don. 100%. It's not like you're going to turn on the 8 o'clock slot and he's just going to regurgitate what you've been hearing all day. He's going to come out with something that you definitely haven't heard about. And of course, he may touch if there's a major story going, but for the most part, I know because, firsthand, they develop things. They're not just like, oh, let me get you for 10 minutes real quick. And that's not how it goes.
But I mean, it's also a little bit too that his status, right? Because they really can't touch him right now. What would they do? Things would fall apart if they were to just can him and knock him out. So he doesn't have to worry about that. He's one of the only ones that doesn't have to worry. Hey, they're going to yank me off the air. Hey, they're going to, it's the, who was it was on, and it was that's verboten talking about George Soros. Remember that? And then boom, it was Newt Gingrich. Anyway, so Tucker doesn't fear. So these things have been known by all these others, and there's probably others throughout the day that wanted to mention it, but they went, oh, I better not. That's the politics I'm talking about. That's the environment that is Fox News now. He's fearless.
Yeah, I got to agree. All right, so why don't we, it's 11:24, why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? Tell everybody what you got going on, Don.
All right, so tomorrow at noon Eastern time, we've got, of course, we're going to go over some of the great data you've got here. Peter Hoosey's got some great updates for us, and we've got Mark Mix. He's the president of the National Right to Work Foundation. There's some stuff in this bill where the Biden administration is trying to override what was done with the Janus Supreme Court decision.
That's right. So,
wow,
that's really cool. You getting into that.
People need to understand that, because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of stuff in this bill that they're trying to pump through that is just like totally dictatorial, but it's totally against the precedents that are already set, Supreme Court decisions. So all these people on the left who talk about Roe v. Wade, it's the law of the land, they have no respect for the law of the land. They just want to protect abortion. Let's be honest about it. So anyway, so we've got a great show tomorrow, Monday, on the General's show. So it's the Stand Up America U.S. show with MG Paul Vallely every Monday at noon Eastern time. This week we've got General Jerry Boykin on the program. Oh. Awesome. You get a chance to come in and ask him questions. It's at least a 20-minute interview, so you can be there, ask some questions. But we also have former ambassador and U.S. Congressman from Michigan, Pete Hoekstra, on the program. So it's going to be a really good show. Really looking forward to that one. Again, same thing there. You can come in and ask questions. We've got something special we're going to do on Tuesday as well, and it's going to be only probably on locals. So I'll be careful how I say this. I don't know if everybody's aware. Have you heard of Spartacus?
Yes.
The Spartacus letter. Okay, we have Spartacus. So we're doing a pre-tape at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, and as soon as that's done, we're going to put that up into locals. Maybe we'll get it on Rumble too, because we're trying to get that thing going to the Rumble and all that stuff. But this is going to be amazing, and I can't even describe what we're going to talk about because we'll be shut down. And that's why we're not having him on the show on Monday, because it streams on this.
Got to be locals only
on the YT thing. Yeah.
Well, get with me on the Rumble thing. Get with me, because I started thinking too, what am I going to put up when I do the locals post? And I just decided, I had YouTube today, and I was, you know what, Laura, let's get rid of it. And she said she agreed, because Rumble and locals now have a partnership. So for my locals community, that's why I put Rumble up there today. They're eventually going to integrate and, or not integrate, but make it much easier for content creators on locals to deliver content to Rumble and then decide, like, whether or not you want to give something to the entire community or just paid supporters.
Yep.
So I wanted to get the community used to Rumble. It's going to be more in line that. And after the announcement this week, Don, from YouTube, you can a perfect example. Look at Spartacus.
Yeah.
There's no way you can have that interview on YouTube. Just no way.
No way.
Lengthy letter, folks. But if you don't, before you watch that on Don's show, lengthy letter, but worth the read if you haven't already. All right. Very interesting. Very cool, Don. Very cool.
That one would get shut down before they even let us go live. Just the description.
Yeah, you wouldn't make it.
Just the description of what we're gonna talk about would be verboten.
And I'm sure that name itself is already in the title algorithm. I'm sure it already is. Again, lengthy, guys, but you got to read it because it's something else. It really is. And that's so cool that you got that, Don. I'm looking forward to that a lot. And by the way, Peter Hussey, I watched the show afterward, and very kind words that he gave me, and I gotta really just thank him for that. But then also too, I'm listening to the interview afterward, and I gotta reciprocate with kind words because I'm an INR junkie. I mean, I spend most of my time in numbers now, but I just decided I also wanted to study international relations and decided and did do it, and I love it. And I don't get to talk about it much with people, who like Peter, who are well versed in it and they would understand. And he's just a great addition, especially when you have things going on the way we did. And I think his analysis of how we're going to be tested and was spot on. If you guys didn't see that, it was last week. If you guys didn't see that last week, check it out. It was good because this is what anyone would be. This period right now, after this flunky and bombed Afghanistan. And after this flunky refused to respond to Taiwan, North Korea now, this is not good. And this is the kind of period where anyone in INR is like holding their breath and waiting for something terrible to happen because that's the pattern.
The thing with Peter, and I'm glad you brought that up with Peter. The thing with that is there's a lot of stuff going on that people should be hearing about, and you're not. You're not hearing anything about this.
Nonsense.
How many people know that the Chinese Communist government threatened Japan with a nuclear strike, a devastating nuclear strike, if they interfere with Hong Kong, with what's going on in Hong Kong? How many people even know that? It seems to me that's, I don't know, kind of a story. So that's why we have Peter on every week, because he's in on all this stuff. He's bringing all this stuff up that everybody should be talking about. It shouldn't just be Peter talking about it on my show. Everybody should be talking about it, at least giving it some attention. I mean, it's incredible to me.
And I would have thought after Trump, Dom, we would have at least gotten back to some, but no, they're just immature. Molly Hemingway was dead right about that. She said that in a response to me once. And I was like talking about the media and how much water carrying can you do before you can't look in the mirror anymore? It was a couple of years ago. And she wrote back and she was like, it's maturity. It's immaturity. These people are bad, very immature. And I remember glancing like, she's right. Because if you would, I just didn't know what word to put to it. It's immaturity, my friend. It's immaturity and hubris together in this very toxic combination. And that screws the American people over. And Donald Trump would say it. They would hate being called it. They truly are the enemy of the American people.
Look at that thing.
In the know about important things, my friend. They're not in the know.
Yeah.
And then what they think they're in the know of. Again, right? I know what you're going to say. This is what they've been told.
Well, yeah,
this is not true.
Exactly. And again, look at what happened yesterday with Joe Manchin. Not a huge Joe Manchin fan like you. I'm with you. It was like an Antifa rally. It was like he was Andy No, and it was a bunch of Antifa members. It was like, holy cow. I don't think you're supposed to be that emotionally invested in all this stuff.
Yeah, they're
my goodness.
They're unhinged. I heard a voicemail sent to Matt Gaetz the other day from this reporter that thought she was going to get an interview, and she was just like ballistic, talking about suing because he tweeted about her. It was unhinged. It was like, lady, take a freaking Valium and shut the hell up. What is wrong? It's immaturity, though. Bad. Molly was dead right about that, man. She was right about it. I can't tell you. Well, you know what? I'm going to boogie out of here. thanks again for joining us, folks. Don't forget to check out Don tomorrow at noon. My friend, thanks for joining us as always. Noon Eastern Standard Time, the Don Smith Show. But go check him out at donsmith.locals.com. I can't wait for that Spartacus interview. I'm going to see it. I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
Sounds
thanks
good.
As always.
Thanks. Bye, Laura.
She had to go deal with the baby. But,
all right.
But I'll tell her. I'll give you and Brenda my best. All right.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
All the best, guys. All right. Don Smith and the Don Smith Show. Wow. That Tuesday interview is going to be cool. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff you mentioned, but I didn't know about that one. That one got me took me by surprise. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that. So with that in mind, we're going to get out of here, though. Follow me on Getter at People's Pundit. Follow me on Twitter at Peoples_Pundit. And of course, you can still get me those Rumbles, whatever they are, the press plus signs. We are now on Rumble. Now that things seem to be working all right, I'll go ahead and advertise it. Been on there, but not live streaming. We are now under People's Pundit. So go check it out, and if you still want to subscribe on YouTube, of course, they always help. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to go live. Check out the new whatever else. Oh, Gruber, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. See you in about an hour if you watch Steve Gruber's show. All right. Everyone have a safe weekend, locals. Talk to you soon, as always. And we will see you on What Are the Odds on Monday for those YouTube watchers. All right, folks. See you soon.
How much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be. I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love. Because you're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
And take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to spear for knives to give into the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show